Big stories, big pressure, big nights at Anfield. This is Anfield Central, your home for the latest Liverpool news, transfers and sharp analysis. No noise, just what matters to real Reds. So if you love Liverpool, hit subscribe and stay ahead of every story. Let's get into it.
Arne Slot responds to Champions League pressure as Liverpool face an uphill battle. Pressure is building around Arne Slot as Liverpool's push for a Champions League place hangs in the balance. After defeat to Manchester City, the Reds sit 4 points behind fifth-place Chelsea, with just one win in their last 7 Premier League games. It leaves Liverpool facing a serious uphill task to reach Europe's elite competition next season, and with a difficult midweek trip to an unbeaten-at-home Sunderland, the challenge could become even tougher. Yet Slot does not believe missing out on the Champions League would automatically cost him his job. Speaking ahead of the Sunderland clash, the Dutchman pointed to recent history for perspective. "That is a difficult question for me to answer, because I don't decide on my future," Slot said. "The only thing I do know is that it happened before and recently, and it didn't affect the future of that manager." He was referencing Jurgen Klopp's 2022-23 campaign, when Liverpool finished 5th and competed in the Europa League without it leading to dismissal. However, Slot was careful not to assume that precedent guarantees him protection. But that doesn't guarantee anything, he admitted. In general, managers, especially at this club, it is not only about results, mainly, but not only. Slot suggested that Liverpool's hierarchy also evaluates player development, team progression, and wider circumstances. At some clubs, they look at the progress the players make, the progress the team makes. The circumstances are sometimes taken into account. The 45-year-old acknowledged earlier in the week that this has been the toughest season of his managerial career. He also accepted that missing out on Champions League revenue would have financial consequences for the club. When asked whether securing a top 5 finish would represent a successful season, Slot chose his words carefully. "If I say yes, I can already see the headlines," he said. He insisted he would not hide behind excuses, despite what he described as multiple underlying factors affecting the campaign. "The maximum we can achieve right now is qualifying for the Champions League, and that's always what we aim for. It wasn't the maximum possible at the start of the season, but at this moment in time, it is the maximum we can achieve." For now, Liverpool's focus remains firmly on results, but with the pressure intensifying and margins tightening, the coming weeks could define not just their season, but potentially Slot's future at Anfield.
Liverpool transfer news. Christian Pulisic linked as Reds track next Kylian Mbappe, Eli Jr. Krupi. Liverpool will be hoping their quiet January window does not come back to haunt them, as attention already turns toward what could be a crucial summer. Aside from a deal for Jeremy Jacquet, who won't arrive until the summer and is already nursing an injury, the Reds chose not to strengthen mid-season. With uncertainty around Champions League qualification, Arne Slot is well aware that European football could heavily influence the club's transfer power. And if the latest reports are accurate, attacking reinforcements may already be under consideration. One name emerging is Christian Pulisic. According to Tutto Mercato Web, Liverpool are monitoring the AC Milan winger as he waits for clarity over a new contract in Italy. Pulisic's current deal runs until 2027, with Milan holding the option of an additional year. However, the American international is reportedly still waiting for a formal renewal offer this season, opening the door to potential Premier League interest. Liverpool and Arsenal are both credited with tracking the situation. A return to England would represent a fresh chapter for Pulisic, who previously struggled for consistency during his spell at Chelsea. At 27, though, he does not perfectly align with Liverpool's recent recruitment profile, which has leaned toward younger, long-term investments. Realistically, the Reds would likely be looking at 3 or 4 peak years rather than a long-term project. Still, his form in Serie A has been encouraging, and he may feel he has unfinished business in the Premier League. Meanwhile, a far younger and more explosive option has also been linked. Caught Offside reports that Liverpool are keeping close tabs on Bournemouth forward Eli Jr. Krupi. The 19-year-old has impressed since arriving from Lorient last year, scoring 8 goals in 20 Premier League appearances this season. His rapid rise has reportedly attracted interest from Chelsea, Real Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain. Krupi has even been likened to Kylian Mbappe by a former teammate, a comparison that inevitably raises both eyebrows and expectations. However, Bournemouth say they value him at around £80 million with a long-term contract running until 2030. That combination makes any potential deal complicated and expensive. For Liverpool, the question is timing. Krupi is undeniably talented, but committing over £100 million for a teenager with 20 top-flight appearances would represent a major gamble. For now, both situations remain at the monitoring stage, but with attacking reinforcements potentially on the agenda and the Champions League picture still uncertain, this summer could shape the next phase of Arne Slot's Liverpool rebuild.
Arne Slot has moved to defend Liverpool's decision to sell Luis Diaz last summer, insisting criticism of the move ignores the wider context behind the club's strategy. The debate has resurfaced in recent months, particularly with Alexander Isak sidelined and Liverpool at times struggling for attacking consistency. Slot believes that absence has amplified questions over whether the Reds made a mistake in letting Diaz leave. Isak has endured a frustrating first season at Anfield. The club's record signing from Newcastle has started just 6 Premier League matches and has not completed a full 90 minutes. He has not featured since December after suffering a broken leg while scoring the winner against Tottenham Hotspur. However, he is expected to return in the coming months. Earlier in the campaign, Liverpool's inability to create and convert chances drew criticism. With Diaz producing 32 goal contributions for Bayern Munich this season, some pundits have suggested the Reds may have miscalculated. Slot does not see it that way. "You always miss good football players," he said ahead of the trip to Sunderland. "He was so important for us last season, but he wasn't the only one. There were more players that were influential in our results, but I think we have replaced them with very good players as well." He then pointed to Isak's injury as a key factor in the conversation. "It is maybe more fair to say that if Alex had been fit, would we have spoken about it then as well?" Diaz was sold to Bayern for €75 million, around £66 million, a fee Liverpool felt was too strong to ignore for a 28-year-old with 2 years left on his contract. The Colombian was also pushing for a significant wage increase, something the club was unwilling to meet. Slot framed the decision as part of Liverpool's long-term financial model. Luis Diaz is another example of how this club is run. If this club gets for a 28-year-old an offer like that, then this club, because it is built on sustainability, chooses to sell a player. We are an exception in the Premier League, especially at the top of the Premier League for that. He believes that approach is precisely why Liverpool have been able to compete in recent years. But that is why it is also so nice that we are able to achieve the things we have achieved in the last few years with that model. Diaz is doing very well at Bayern, and that is not a surprise to me. For now, much of the scrutiny may ease once Isak returns. Until then, Liverpool's recruitment decisions and the sustainability model behind them will remain firmly under the spotlight.
Liverpool handed timely boost in top 4 race after rivals slip up. Liverpool's push for a Champions League place received a timely lift on Tuesday night, just days after Sunday's disappointing defeat. Arne Slot had faced intense scrutiny in his pre-match press conference, with questions swirling around the club's top 4 hopes and what missing out might mean for his future. But the Premier League results elsewhere have eased some of that immediate pressure. Had results gone against them, the Reds could have travelled to Sunderland 8 points adrift of Manchester United in 4th. Instead, both United and Chelsea dropped crucial points in surprising fashion. At the London Stadium, United were forced to settle for a dramatic draw against West Ham. Michael Carrick's side, chasing a 5th straight win, needed an injury-time equaliser from Benjamin Sesko to rescue a point after Thomas Soucek had given the hosts a second-half lead. That result keeps United 4th, but vulnerable. Chelsea, meanwhile, failed to capitalise. Despite leading 2-0 at Stamford Bridge through João Pedro and Cole Palmer before the hour mark, they were pegged back by Leeds United, with Lucas Mecha and Noah Okafor sealing a 2-2 comeback. The draw leaves Chelsea 5th, just 1 point behind United. Crucially, Liverpool can now close the gap significantly with victory on Wednesday. They sit 6 points behind United and 5 off Chelsea heading into the Sunderland clash. Elsewhere, Everton's 2-1 home defeat to Bournemouth may also have brought quiet relief on Merseyside. A win for the Toffees would have seen them leapfrog Liverpool in the table. Instead, Bournemouth's victory tightens the race even further. They now sit just 2 points behind the Reds, while Newcastle move to within 3 points of the champions after beating Tottenham in North London. It underlines just how congested this season's Premier League table has become and how fine the margins are in the battle for Europe. Liverpool's trip to Sunderland is one of 5 fixtures on Wednesday night. The Reds will also keep a close eye on Aston Villa against Brighton, hoping the Seagulls can dent the side currently sitting third and 8 points ahead of them. For Arne Slot and his players, the equation is simple. Win, and the Champions League race looks very different by the end of the week.
Dominic Szoboszlai banned as Arne Slot faces a right-back crisis ahead of Sunderland clash. Liverpool head to Sunderland on Wednesday night under real pressure, with Arne Slot desperately needing 3 points to steady a stuttering Premier League campaign. Sunday's 2-1 defeat to City at Anfield marked another damaging setback, despite the Reds taking the lead through a stunning Dominic Szoboszlai free kick. Yet once again, Liverpool faltered late on. Pep Guardiola's side struck twice in the closing stages, exposing the same fragility that has hurt Slot's team in recent weeks, and the situation has now become even more complicated. Szoboszlai will miss the trip to Sunderland after being sent off in controversial circumstances against City. The Hungarian midfielder was tracking back with Erling Haaland when he tangled with the Norwegian during a sprint, just as Ryan Cherki attempted an audacious effort from near the halfway line with Alisson off his line. Initially, Cherki's goal appeared to stand, but after a VAR review, referee Craig Pawson ruled that Szoboszlai had denied Haaland a clear goal-scoring opportunity by dragging him back before both players fell. The goal was disallowed, play was brought back, and Szoboszlai was shown a red card. Crucially, he will serve a 1-match suspension for denial of an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, rather than a longer ban. That means he remains available for the FA Cup clash with Brighton and the Premier League trip to Nottingham Forest later this month. However, his absence deepens an already growing selection crisis, particularly at right back. Jeremy Frimpong and Connor Bradley, Slot's first and second choice options, are both sidelined through injury. Joe Gomez is a doubt, while centre-back Giovanni Leone is also unavailable. Despite that, Calvin Ramsey will not be handed an opportunity. The 2022 signing from Aberdeen, who has yet to start a Premier League match for Liverpool and has spent time on loan at Preston, Bolton, Wigan and Kilmarnock, has been overlooked once again. Slot was blunt when asked about Ramsey's chances. In general, if you don't win a game, the players who aren't playing become the best players in the squad. That's the same everywhere in the world. This is an example of that as well. He added, "I just want to protect all my players. I've chosen other players until now, and that's also what I'm going to do tomorrow." Instead, Slot hinted that midfielders Curtis Jones and Wataru Endo could be used to solve the problem. For Liverpool, this is about more than just one game. It's about restoring stability, finding defensive solutions, and proving they can respond under pressure. Wednesday night at Sunderland now feels like a defining moment in their season.